not advancing. So let me see. Let me see. We're having some technical challenges here. Let me stop presenting and then stop sharing, then I'll share again. Technology, you can never get it right all the time with technology. So
yeah, that's what scares me as we go to the AI-dominated world, whether we can hand our lives over to artificial intelligence.
I know, right? Yes, we can go ahead now.
Okay, great. Yeah. So I think it's the slide before this. Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. So let's this slide here. So okay, great. Oh, let's go to that. Okay, good. So now this slide is that represents perhaps the most important refrain that I can offer tonight. Now, most applicants approach scholarships and fellowships as if they are prizes to be won. Most often people think, oh, if my grades are strong enough, if my CV is impressive enough, I will be selected. Yeah, so that's what I would call applicant thinking. But here's what selectors actually ask themselves. It's the typical question of who will multiply this opportunity to create impact. So there's difference between the applicant thinking and the selectors thinking. They're not looking to reward your past achievement, really. They are making investments in future impact. So that's one thing you bear in mind. And so thinking about it from their perspective, a fellowship program like Chevening or the Mandela Washington Fellowship has limited resources, right? They receive thousands of applications, and their job is to identify candidates who will take what they learn and multiply it, who will return to their community and create, a ripple effect, and who will become leaders that reflect well on the program for several decades to come. So that's the way selectors really think, right? So this means that you need to shift from presenting yourself as some charity case, because that's something that's very common. People talk about their needs and think that that's going to enable them to get fellowships or scholarships. You don't present yourself as someone who deserves help. You need to shift to present yourself as an investment and someone who will deliver returns on the investment. So if you look at the slide, you see these 6 elements that selectors commonly evaluate. So experiences and attributes, compelling vision, your leadership qualities, the ability to communicate your value, your future contributions, and your resilience and growth mindset. So these are very key elements. Now notice, if you look at the list there, you notice that grades are not there. Now, that doesn't mean grades are not important at all, but because they open the door for you. Grades can get you through the door, yes. But these elements are what get you selected. So I want you to remember this quote throughout this session today. Grades open the door, but purpose, leadership, and clarity will get you selected. So advancing to the next slide, where we'll look at the 4 pillars of selection, I want to give you a framework. Now, regardless of the program, regardless of the field, most global opportunities assess candidates based on these pillars you can see on the screen right now. Now, pillar 1 is leadership capacity. This is about influencing people and solving problems. Now, leadership, because some may wonder, okay, I haven't held leadership positions and all that, but leadership is not about titles. It's about demonstrating that you can mobilize others towards a goal. Have you led a team before, even informally? Have you taken initiative when no one asked you to? Have you solved problems that others, walk past? That is leadership skill. So you should bear that in mind. Then pillar 2 is impact and services. Selectors want to see intentional, consistent contribution, not one-off volunteerism that you just insert in your CV, but want to see a pattern, a pattern of service that shows that you genuinely care about making a difference. So the key word there is consistent. What have you done repeatedly over time that demonstrates commitment to something larger than yourself, right? So that will demonstrate impact and service. The third pillar is clarity of purpose. I mean, that's one word also was mentioning clarity that as an outcome of expected outcome of this session. This is where many strong applicants fail. You must be able to answer 3 questions clearly, right? Now, why this program? And why now in your career? And why you specifically? These are very key critical questions that you should ask yourself. And common vague answers you see is, I want to develop myself, or I want to help my country. These are not enough. And selectors want to see that you have thought deeply about your path and how this opportunity fits very much into it. And the fourth pillar there is about your global and cross-cultural mindset. Now, can you connect, local challenges to global conversations, right? Do you understand how your work in your country, Nigeria or wherever, fits, broadly into the broader international discussions, right? Global programs want people who can bridge context, who can learn from other countries and bring lessons back home, and who can represent their communities at the global stage. So here's the insight I want you to take away. Most global programs assess applicants across these 4 pillars essentially, regardless of your academic discipline, right? Because I know that lots of people here are from different disciplines, some from health, economics, agriculture, whatever background. But you see, bearing these 4 pillars in mind would help strengthen your applications. So so start thinking about how your experiences demonstrate strength in these. So let's see. Next, I'll just give a kind of brief case studies, essentially, which I call the tale of 2 applicants. Right. So now this is a kind of it's a composite which is drawn from real patterns I have observed over the years, mentoring applicants, and frankly from conversations with selection committee members as well. Now, you can see on your screen applicant A, who is an academic superstar, and then applicant B. Now let's, for the sake of this, and I want to use some names, and in case anybody bears that name, please, it's not you, right? Yeah, so let's call applicant A Chiamaka. Chiamaka graduated top of her class from one of Nigeria's best universities with a first-class degree in economics. Now, her transcripts are, immaculate, has a 4.85 GPA, was on the dean's list every semester. She had 2 internships in reputable banks, strong recommendation letters from her professors praising her intellect, and a perfectly written personal statement that showcased her academic achievements. But when the selection committee reviewed her applications, they noticed something. Outside of her coursework, Chiamaka's life essentially is blank. No student organization, no community involvement, No evidence that she had ever led anything or served anyone beyond herself. Her personal statement talked about wanting to gain skills, wanting to advance her career, but nothing really about what she would do if those skills. Someone's mic is on.
Please, if you're not speaking, mute your mic so that we don't get feedback. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So Amaka really did not demonstrate what she would do with those skills and how she would contribute back. But let's look at the second applicant, the impact leader. Let's call him Tunde. Now, Tunde graduated with a 3.4 GPA. I think that's a second class upper, which is quite strong, but nowhere near Chiamaka's academic records. But however, during his time at the university, Tunde noticed that students from rural areas struggled with basic digital literacy. So in the second year, he started a weekend program teaching computer skills to students from his local government area, recruited 5 classmates to help. And over 3 years, they trained about 200 students. Several went to secure jobs in tech. Now, Tunde's personal statement told this story, and he explained how growing up in a community without internet access, helped shape his understanding of digital inequality. He articulated a clear vision. He wanted to pursue a master's in technology policy so he could work on bringing Nigeria's digital divide, on bridging the divide at policy level. He named specific organizations he desired to work with after graduation. His recommenders were not, some of those famous professors that Chiamaka presented, but they were community leaders who hosted his training sessions, and his professor who, watched him lead the team. So what was the outcome? Chiamaka was rejected, and Tunde was selected. So now I want to be clear. Now, I'm not saying that grades do not matter. They do. Chiamaka's grades got her application read. But the selection committee, selection committees are choosing among several candidates, and they're asking who will do something meaningful with this opportunity. Tunde already demonstrated that. Chiamaka had not. So the key insight here is global opportunities are not prizes for brilliance. They're investments in people with purpose and impact. So now, if you see yourself in Chiamaka right now, don't despair, you have time. You can start building your story today. Find a problem you care about and start working on it. Yeah, so not just for a CV, but because it really does matter to you, right? So it's not just about a CV. You want to show that it's authentic, right? Authenticity will always show. So, yeah, before I hand over to Dr. Flora, let me clarify the differences on the next slide between scholarships and fellowships. So next slide, please.
Once again, I run into trouble again, so I will start.
Okay, because I'll just put on why you're trying to sort that out. Yeah. So so scholarship and fellowship are not often the same thing. Like I said, there are some that are both fellowships and scholarships, like the WTDRO I got, but they're not necessarily the same thing. So understanding differences between them would help you target the right opportunities and position yourself appropriately. Scholarships are primarily about academic degree programs. You think about Chevening, Fulbright, Erasmus modules, and those great scholarships out there. Their primary focus is to support your education. While leadership matters, your academic record carries actually more weight here because they're academic, right? And these are typically longer commitments, usually 1 to 4 years, and they target mostly students. Fellowships are different. Things like the Hubert Humphrey Mandela Washington Fellow, and and lots more. They are investments in existing leaders. The prime focus is leadership development and impact, not necessarily academic credentials. So your experience and influence matter here a whole lot more than your grades, and they are typically shorter, usually a few weeks to perhaps a year, and they target both students and working professionals. Now, and so yeah. So if you're early in your career with strong academic record, scholarships may be your best entry point. If you're working for several years, if you're working for several years and you demonstrate leadership, fellowship may be more suitable, even if your grades were not exceptional, right? So at this point, I will hand over to Dr. Flora, who will walk you through practical strategies for building your profile and crafting compelling applications. Thank you.
Dr. Flora, I think your mic is still muted. There's a lot of round of applause for Dr. Ejemai here. Thank you very much, Dr. Ejemai.
Okay, are we good to go?
Yes, please.
Okay, great. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. So I'm gonna, now that Ejemai, Dr. Ejemai has taken us through those very important, that very important foundation, we're going to look at practical strategies that you can start applying immediately, depending on what stage of your career you are at. So I believe I know we have students here and we have professionals, right? Some in their early stages, some in their mid-career. So we're going to look at, the different groups. Now, if you're a student and you desire a scholarship, you do need a very strong academic foundation. So start now, start early to work towards good grades, very good grades for that matter. Because again, that's what, just like Ejemai mentioned, that's what gets you in. But you've got to distinguish yourself in other areas beyond academics, because many scholarships look for versatile individuals. We used to call them T-shaped individuals, right? And those who can lead themselves and lead others or lead projects. So you need to lean in and take on responsibilities now while you're on campus, if you're still in school, or in your community, if you've graduated and you're doing your NYSC, or you're in the, trying to get somewhere. But don't wait until you graduate to acquire these skills, or any skill at all, and experience. Look for the experience, create them if you can. Go for internships, volunteer. You can go for paid work, even as a student. I did that. You can employ yourself, because people also look for people with entrepreneurial mindsets and abilities. You can serve. That way you also get experience. The ability to drive yourself and perform excellently well with minimum supervision is important. So you need to build your tomorrow today. If you're in the early stage of a career, and for early stage, we look at people between 0 to 7, people with 0 to 7 years of professional or post-graduation experience. These can include final year students, recent graduates, master's students, or people in their first or second serious role. Scholarship and fellowship panels would typically ask questions like, do they show promise? Are they intentional or just trying things randomly? Have they taken initiative beyond what was required? Will this opportunity accelerate their growth? Right? So you need to demonstrate growth and responsibility. You need to demonstrate that you've led projects at work or in the community. And projects are not big projects. They're just small things, just like you mentioned, small initiatives. You took initiative, you stepped up, you took responsibility. You did not need a title to do those. You saw a need and then you stepped in. And your essays, because almost every fellowship and scholarship would request essays. Your essays must clearly show your career trajectory, small incremental steps, and the impact beyond your job description. Now, this is for early career folks. So in summary, you need to be able to show that you have potential with direction. Now, if you are in the middle stage of your career, what we call middle career, usually the typical profile is 7 to 15 years, sometimes 20 years of experience. And people who fall into this category would probably be managers, senior professionals, founders, policy influencers, researchers, NGO leaders, specialists with recognized expertise, right? These are people who are already trusted with responsibility. So for this group of people, your goal will be to translate your experience into purpose. That's what they want to see. You have the experience, now they want to know, so what can this do for us? Now let's move to the next slide. Otse?
Yeah, there is a time lag, but I've moved to the advanced slides. It should come up shortly.
Okay, great, we're there. So as you begin, for you to start preparing for your fellowship or scholarship, you don't wait until that opportunity comes. You start, in fact, the best time was yesterday, right? So you start to build your profile. You can build your profile through different means. You can do so by setting, of course, I've talked about your experience, but then again, you also need to look at having your profile. You don't need to wait till you graduate, actually, to set up a LinkedIn profile. You can do that, your online presence, begin to put out some of your work there, begin to talk to people, and then begin to strategically look out for relationships, right? And we're going to talk about that in a bit. Let's move to the next slide. Now, some of you would have heard of the saying, build it before you need it. Okay, please move to the next slide. Build it before you need it. Something very important we need to know is that in scholarships and fellowships, both of them, selection is retrospective. What do I mean? Panels don't reward what you plan to start after you win. That scholarship and fellowship panels, they're not looking at what you plan to do. They reward what you were already doing, what you were already building long before you applied. So in the context of our discussion today, build it before you need it means you become the candidate first, and then you apply second. Now, how do you get to know about these opportunities? One very important way is through networking. Many times we think networking is getting to know people, based on, and then, be able to get something out of them, especially the rich and famous. Networking is not asking for favors. It is building alignment. Alignment means shared values, shared interests, or purpose, right? Alignment is not transactions. Alignment creates advocates, people who can speak for you, people who can step in for you, people who can mention your name in places where you are not. They're not just contacts, but they're people. Alignment are people who are aligned with you. You have the shared interest and purpose. They understand where you're going, and they can vouch for you, right? So connecting with others will definitely expand your possibilities, and that's why networking is very important. So you need to be able to connect with people both at work and in your social life. And this is why we engage with alumni, be it university, work alumni, school alumni, professional and industry networks, attend information sessions, and seek mentors early, which is very, very important. So you don't start networking when you're about to apply for a scholarship. I said that before. You start long before then, because trust grows over time. So you need to build it before you need it. And the mentors and alumni, they are most helpful when they know you and they can vouch for you. So the opportunities, scholarships, fellowship opportunities, they're out there, but you must be strategic in choosing them. You can't just apply to every program you see. No, you need to apply to programs that fit what you want to do, what you want to achieve, and what you already are doing or what you know. You need to apply to programs that align with your story. However, you should also aim higher and balance what we call stretch and realistic options. I'm going to explain that. Stretch options are highly competitive or prestigious opportunities, like the Ivy League fellowships. They may be slightly above your current profile, or they could push you beyond your comfort zone, right? So maybe you've never applied for any scholarship outside the country, and you decide, you know what, I'm going to try this, rather than, just take on scholarships that are more domestic, more within your country. Those are stretch options. Now, the realistic options are opportunities where you clearly qualify for and which match your experience, your background, your career stage, designed for your sector, your geography in Nigeria, or in Africa, or in Asia, wherever you are, or your years of experience. So you are playing safe in those areas, right? But the stretch ones are the ones that will stretch you a little bit. Even when you look at them, you say, can I or can I not? Now, what we tend to say is you should balance both. Don't play small, but diversify your risk. So you can maybe apply for take on 2 stretch applications and maybe 2 or 4 realistic applications, so that that way something will happen, right? When you aim high, you don't put all your hopes in one long shot. If you get rejected, it doesn't derail your entire plan, because you've cast your net wide, though not too wide. And somehow you will likely be accepted for one of them. So next slide. Now, let's go to the window to the soul, what I call the window to the soul. And that is your narrative. Your narrative are those essays. Fellowships and scholarships will always ask you to write essays, not 1 essay. Some of them will ask you for 4 essays. Some of them will ask you for 4 references. They can be, especially the stretch Ivy League ones, and they will ask for lots of essays, just one. In fact, you think you are applying for one very high-level job. Now, why do they do this? The selection committees, they view essays as a way to understand your motivations and your personal journey. So merely listing your duties, your achievements, as if you're rehashing your CV, it means that your application will be weak. So you need to use concrete stories to tell a story of your growth, lessons, your purpose. Explain the why. They want to see you through your essays. They want to know you through your essays. Then you're not there to make your case. Your essays will make your case for you. So you need to explain the why behind your actions and link your past to your future impact. In fact, link your past to your present and your present to your future impact. So for instance, an essay says to share your mentorship experience, and you're wondering, I've not been formally mentored before, and I've not formally mentored anyone. However, in your office or maybe in school, you've worked with someone to improve their skills and help them get a promotion. Or you encouraged over time several, not one, not two, you encouraged one shy, quiet colleague to build confidence and become more expressive. And because of that, they were able to step into other roles and do things that, they couldn't do before. Now that's your story. There's no shame in saying, I have not served as a formal mentor, but in my small way, I have mentored someone and helped that person to step up and lean in. There's no shame in doing that. And then I go ahead to narrate briefly how I did this and the value I created in the process. And then I'm applying for this fellowship. Through this fellowship, I want to do more of this. So you see, what I'm saying is don't be afraid to be vulnerable. Many times we want to look good and talk about things we haven't done. Not necessarily. If you really look into yourself, you'll find that you can use your stories, the things that you have done, but many times we don't note them. We just forget about them or we think they're nothing. This is the time to turn that small nothing into something very tangible, and that's what they want to see. Some fellowships want to know your some fellowships also want to know what your mentorship experience. So for some fellowships that want to know what your mentorship experience is, some people would also say, I have never had a mentor. And that's true, So nothing stops you from saying you didn't have a mentor or you struggled to find one. And this happened to me until I got a mentor later. But in the early stages of my life, I struggled to find a mentor. But now you want to become the mentor you did not have. So this opportunity to become the mentor you did not have is what you need. So you make a case for yourself. You see, that's the mindset these scholarship and fellowship panels are looking for. They're looking for people who are hungry to make impact. They're looking for people who are hungry to evolve. They're looking for people who are hungry to become better and use that better to make others better. They want authenticity. So how you present your case matters a lot. So let me summarize this by saying, a short application will answer 3 questions. 1, it will answer what shaped you. Through your essays, they can see what shaped you. They should also be able to see, this is also another question, what you are doing now. And your essay should also be able to show the impact you will make with this opportunity. So use examples and be very specific in your examples. Do a lot of reflection when you're writing your essays, and please don't exaggerate. Just state it as it is. Next slide. Right. Now, many scholarships and fellowships, they look for candidates who will apply their learning to create impact. I keep saying this. So you need to keep that in mind. They are looking for people who will create impact, not people who they will just fund and make better and that's it. No. And because they're looking for people who will create impact, they tend to specify locations where applicants should reside. So the impact they're looking at, so for instance, if it's research, they might be interested in, researchers from certain areas because they need their context, they need their insights, they need their knowledge. They also need to be able to work with them to evaluate or conduct research in those areas where they need information from. For fellowships, same thing. And then they also need practitioners, people who are actively working in the industry, in the field, and that their experience, their insights, will add value. Will add value back home because they will use their experience, mold it, make it larger, and then they go back equipped to do a whole lot more. And so, keeping this in mind, regional representation is usually a priority for global programs. So don't look at your local environment as a weakness. Oh, I'm from Africa. I don't fit. No. Your context as an African or Asian applicant, for example, is your strength. It's not a liability, because there are needs, there are opportunities that abound. You need knowledge, you need skills that will help you fill some of the gaps within your home environment. Your lived experience is also very powerful. Direct experience in developing contexts like ours, maybe Africa, many of the low and middle income countries, tends to provide unique experience. I've mentioned that many of these global cohorts value, and that's why you see them wanting to collaborate with researchers and even people in industry. So you need to show, but for you to be able to make use or maximize your lived experience, you need to be able to show that you understand global issues and you can contextualize local problems globally, right? So because they value cross-cultural work, you should also be able to demonstrate cultural intelligence, because now you are working with it, you're going to be working, your local environment is your own culture, right? But you're looking to bring together that global culture with your local culture. So you need to be culturally intelligent so that you can understand the nuances across both cultures, and also when you're translating and coming back home to apply yourself, and also even transmitting what you have here over there. Now, selectors also look for very important things like integrity, and they see that in your essays, they see that in what you've done. They look for people who are teachable, not people who will tell you, oh, I've done this, I know it all, I don't have much value to add, I'm just all of that. No, they're looking for people who are teachable. They're also looking for people with leadership potential. Leadership potential is not your title, not your position. They're looking for people who have done small little things that either have made impact or have the potential to make impact. So they're looking for potential that outweighs your current job title or position. So they see you where you are and they say, what can this person be tomorrow? So they're also looking for authenticity and sincerity. And that's why it is very important, you see, because you see these panels, they read hundreds of essays, thousands, in fact. One fellowship can have thousands of applicants, and all they're looking for are 4 people. Like the fellowship I applied for, they're looking for 4 people, and yet we had over 6,000 or so applications. They can instantly spot copy and paste motivations. Now with AI, it's probably even easier. They can spot borrowed language, and they can spot artificial passion. So the best thing is to be authentic in your essay. Just show yourself, who you are. Next slide. Now, quickly, what are the common mistakes that we make? Next slide. I think that's the next slide. Yes. So what are the common mistakes that applicants tend to make? So Dr. Ejemai had mentioned this. Many of us tend to focus more on grades, and that's understandable. Scholarships, by the way, they like grades. They look at grades, but again, that just gets into the door. In fellowship, they're not looking at in fact, they won't ask for your grades for fellowships. You know why? Because for fellowships, they're looking for people who are already in the arena, people with years of experience, people who are doing work. So that has overtaken your grades. Now they don't care for your grades. They're looking at your experience, your impact, and then how they can help you become more. So many of us tend to focus on our grades, right? But you see, when you have excellent grades, but your stories are weak, or you don't have leadership experience, or you're not serving, this weakens your chances. So you need to balance academics with leadership, service, and vision, because that academic is the foundation. However, you must layer on it other things like leadership, like serving, and then you should have a purpose. Now, some of us use the same CV and essays for multiple programs. So that's a problem, because in the process, you find that your CV or your essay does not align with the values or the requirements of another program. So it's never a good thing to use the same CV or essay for multiple applications. And some of our CVs are not well written, you know, and a good number of them need to be edited. They have a lot of typos. So you must take care. These panels, they look at this, they look at attention to detail, they look at quality above quantity. So you should study the mission, the values, even the alumni, the previous alumni of that program. Research them, go to LinkedIn, go to they always have the alumni on their website. So you go there, look at their names, go to LinkedIn, go here, look at their profile, look at them, and get to know what it is that they're doing and all that before you tweak your CV. Then also, very importantly, I think I mentioned that, to ensure that your CV is well structured and that you proofread it very thoroughly for errors. Another mistake we make is our storytelling. Again, we write, those essays, I tell you, those essays are what determine your selection to a large extent. Because it is those essays that you're going to be able to showcase your knowledge, your education, your experience, and weave it into a nice story. So you need to master the art of storytelling so you can tell a strong story. So let me tell you what a weak story is like. A weak story, as a weak essay, will list achievements without reflection. It will just say, oh, I did it, responsible for this, was achieved 50% increase in this. You need to be able to say, craft it in such a way that, so for instance, together with a team, I was able to leverage my leadership knowledge and work with a team and move them from this point to this point. That is telling a story. Then you should also show, a weak story will not show growth or learning curve, but to just, mention things. But you should be able to show that you started from one small place. Me, I started as a volunteer somewhere, and then gradually I grew, just gradually. You don't have to have a big title, by the way. Just show that you've been growing. That's what they want to see, right? So your goal when you're writing your essay is that you should tell a story of growth and purpose and the lessons you learned along the journey of life. Now, another mistake we make is sending in poor recommendations. Now, why does this happen? Many of you would agree with me that we tend to choose references or referees by status, public health director, DG, National Electric, and many of them barely know us. Please take note, a strong reference is not one that would describe you as hardworking. A strong reference is one that will say, one, what you have led, how you think, and how you handle difficulty, among other things. So when you are choosing referees, you must choose people who know your leadership, people who know your character, and people who have seen and can speak to your impact. In fact, to the extent possible, choose referees who have seen you in motion or in action. Then also, please choose referees who write well. A well-structured reference letter that is, free of errors makes a good impression. And then one that is not well-structured, it will be a reflection on you. So remember that many of these programs will request for several reference letters. Every letter should be excellent. Another, and maybe this will just be the last mistake that we usually see, is we tend to rush our applications, rush our documents, right? We rush our essays, we rush our references, we rush our project plan. And this is because, number one, we assume that we have time. It's true, some of us may see the application late, but if you are fortunate to see the application early, months ahead, and many of these good fellowships and scholarships will release the application many months ahead, weeks and months ahead. Once you see them, start preparing for those, don't wait. And as one of the things I say is that you should tell yourself your application should be complete 2 days before, minimum 2 days before submission date. If you you don't have any application, no scholarship or fellowship right now in mind, but now with this learning, you are telling yourself, oh, I'm going to look for these opportunities. Time to plan. So you need to plan early. I usually say start 6 to 12 months in advance. If you've applied before and you were rejected,
Hello.
it's
Hello. How are you?
Can we mute, please? Patient Brown, can you mute your mic, please? We're getting feedback from you. Thanks.
okay. So if you've applied before and you were rejected, it is good that, and you decide you're going to apply for that same fellowship again, then it's a good thing that you have the leverage, you have the luxury of starting now at that time, 6 to 12 months ahead, because by the next year they will release another notification and we have another opportunity. So always prepare early, don't wait. Now build yourself very early, especially students and those of us in our early career. In fact, at everybody at every stage, build up yourself, take on responsibilities, gain experience. And as you're doing it, curate your stories, start writing down your stories, especially if you're looking to apply for these scholarships and fellowships. Because if you wait till when you want to write, you won't even remember many of the things you've done. But start now. That's the intentionality of the process. Then build your relationships so that you have references when an opportunity comes. You have people who have worked with you, people who have engaged with you, and people who can speak for you. All right. And when eventually that application comes, like I said, start applying early. Don't leave it to 3-4 days to apply. You start many weeks ahead. If you have to take leave to sit down and think through your essays, then do so. All right. And like I said, you should aim to submit early. One of the reasons why it's also important to submit early is you have technical glitches when you're submitting. So assuming you're submitting at the last minute, that's going to be it's many times a miracle, because a good number of times your documents will not upload, no matter how fancy, even if it's a platform that we know is so fantastic. Technical glitches happen. It could be from your own internet here, it could be from anywhere. And then the next thing, your submission is hanging or you miss the deadline. And one thing with these applications is once you miss the deadline, there's no sorry. You just miss it. Nothing explains it because they expect you to apply to submit ahead of time. All right. And then sometimes your references, your referees are supposed to send in the application letters before your submission, or even at the same time you're submitted. So assuming you wait and submit at the deadline only to find that your referees have not sent in the letters, then you lose that opportunity. Last slide, and I think this should be the last slide, and I'm done, I think. Yeah, so I think this is the last slide. Now, so what are selection panels looking for? They're not looking for perfection. They're looking for signals. I have already spoken about the signals. What are they? They're looking for signals of purpose. Why do you do what you do? They're looking for signals of trajectory. Are you growing in a coherent direction? Does your past work, your present, and your proposed future, do they make sense? They're also looking for the signal of future impact. What will change because we invest in you? Those are the questions they are looking, those are the questions they're asking, and that's what they're looking for when they review your application. So what am I saying? You've got to show clear direction, credible growth, and meaningful future influence. So if you're thinking of a scholarship or fellowship to participate in, the best time to prepare was yesterday. But the next best time is today. So please start early. Be intentional in your work. Be intentional in your development now. Be you a student, be you a professional, this is the time. Be intentional in your learning and in your posturing. Posturing, I mean how you showcase yourself when in your networks, online, in the things you push and advocate for. Be intentional. And then build solid and trusted networks. You also need to be consistent in whatever it is that you're doing. So if you're volunteering, be consistent. Don't do today and then the next thing you're not doing anything for the next 3-4 years. and begin to curate your stories, things that happen, important things, you know, because remember, scholarships and leadership and fellowships are looking for people who can show their leadership abilities, among other things, right? So that when you curate your stories, you can tell those stories when the time comes. So I'm going to conclude by reminding us that global scholarships and fellowships are more than funding opportunities. They are platforms for influence, leadership development, global exposure, and long-term career positioning. These opportunities are not rewards for being the smartest. They are investments in people with potential, purpose, and perspective. The world is not looking for perfection. I will say this again. It is looking for promise and impact. And so this is the mindset you must have if you're going to position yourself for global opportunities. I hope this has been helpful. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Dr. Ejemai and Dr. Flora. This has been wonderful. I was just taking notes, even though I know that we're recording the session and the notes are going to be available, but I was also taking notes. Thank you very much. We just show them some love, round of applause. Let's just thank them for this great session. So quickly, as we move, as we continue, time check, we are 8 minutes past 7. So we'll now open it up for questions. If you have questions, you can raise up your hand, unmute, and then we unmute your mic and speak so that we can all begin to collaborate together. If you have questions, just raise your hand and I will call on you. Any questions? Also, feel free to put your question in the chat box. We will read those questions and pass it on to our mentors. We have a couple of words on Marble that I try to put. Okay, so Elojo Abuja, he said, thank you so much for the insights and the very rich discussion so far. How do you express yourself fully in an essay, especially since most scholarships and fellowships require a 200 to 300 word limit? Did we get that question?
You want us to answer now?
Yeah, so that's the question we have on the chat box. Then there's a hand up. When we are done with that question, then we will now go to the hand that is up.
So do I go ahead?
Yes, you can go ahead. Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay, so now that's a very good question. And you see, again, they put those word limits for a number of reasons. One, they don't want us to, they want to read. Remember, they're going to get thousands of applications. So they don't want to read a lot of verbose, stuff. But more importantly, they are looking for people who have the ability to pitch themselves in the smartest possible way. And that's why I say to you that essay writing is so critical. When you start, you will start by writing almost 2 pages. But you will need to reread it and read it and read it until you bring it down to usually 200 will be too small. They usually do 500 to 1,000 in most cases, for very good programs. 500 to 1,000, unless you're looking at an abstract that's like 350. But for those essays, they're looking at most times 500 to 1,000 words. But even that is like a stretch, because 500 words 500 words is like half a page or about 1 page. So, but they're looking for people who will learn the ability to be brief but straight to the point. right? And in the process of doing it, by the time you're done, even you will congratulate yourself because you would have developed another skill in that process. So it's something you have to learn. It's something you should start now if possible to learn. And it's available. Start now. In fact, you're looking. Many people apply now.
Your back?
My heart.
Really? Where's your heart?
Please, can we good news?
Please, can you just mute your mic?
Okay, people applying now are even fortunate because you have a lot of resources and things to teach you and show you. But like I said, it's a skill, and it's a good thing if you start learning that skill now. Because by the time you finish your essay, that essay has to really, really be good, despite the word limits, right? Okay, so just something you need to learn. So if you can start learning it, better for us, or better for you and me.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Flora. So we have two hands. We'll first go to Bridget. Bridget, you can unmute your mic and speak. Then we'll go to Chi Ugo. Bridget, please.
Okay, thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Mr. Ose, for this platform, and thank you to the presenter. Very wonderful presentation. You know, through the presentation, I could see why most of my applications were not accepted, because I was playing the pity party, you know, trying to present yourself as less, being an African and all. And I was really banking on my academic background, you know, the 4 points, and you want to really show that. And I think mostly I've missed out most of the internship, my volunteer. I didn't even state any of that. So this is really an eye opener. Like, it's very much appreciated, and I really appreciate if the slides could also be shared. So I think my only question will be, is there I know you have explained that before in the course of the presentation, but how well could we position ourselves better, especially seeing for scholarships that would be like, oh, this is for African, and they are very specific about sub-Saharan Africa. So is there a better way to position yourself without, you know, playing the pity party, but seeing the fact that, you know, how to show impact, like the before impact and post impact and all of that. So I think I really want to get clarification about that. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you very much, Bridget. So we'll just take a couple of questions and give you guys time to respond. Chiugo, please, if you can just limit your question to a couple of like 30 seconds or 1 minute, that will be good. After Chiugo, then we'll go to Bonaventure. Then after Bonaventure, we'll take a couple of questions on the chat box. Chiugo, over to you. Chiugo, you can unmute and speak. If you're having issues unmuting, we can move to Bonaventure.
Hello, can you hear me?
Chiugo, we can't still hear you. Maybe while you are getting your mic set up, Bonaventure, can you speak? Bonaventure,
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you for the insightful and thought-provoking presentations, Dr. Flora and Dr. Ejemai. I had a very quick questions. The first one, Dr. Flora, you talked about the difficulty in getting a mentor. I would just like you to shed a bit more light on that. And what would you say were your criteria, key points in selecting a mentor to move you forward? My second question is regarding thought leadership. Do you believe thought leadership is key in applications for sort of scholarships and fellowships? And in an era of AI today, where ChatGPT or any AI tool can write up thought leadership articles for you, how do we position ourselves? You talked about posturing. How do we position ourselves in an era of AI to be authentic thought leaders? And the final question is for someone who volunteers a lot and does a lot. There's a difference between doing a lot but being spread in different areas. So I'm fortunate to be polyvalent, so I do many things. but it's very difficult to put yourself on one track. How do you show your diversity and your ability to do a lot while also being streamlined in what and being clear in what you're applying for? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Hugo. Bonaventure, 1 minute, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Ote and Madam Flora, for the wonderful presentation, I'll say. So I have this question, which actually has been a part of my wonder. So this is how about financial support? Because I tried to apply to many of the scholarships in the US, common apps, I don't know, or Credo. So I tried in different ways, even with mentors. But there is this one person who advised me about applying for financial support. So what's your perspective about that and how to approach it? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bonaventure. So we'll read a couple of questions on the chat box, then we'll give our mentors opportunity to respond. So the next question from Eunice Anjalaolua says, thank you so much. My question is, where do one get to search out these fellowships and scholarship before it expires? Also, as an undergraduate 200 level student studying public health, how do one get started? Or one just focus on internships? I hope we got that question. Let me read it again. My question is, where do one get to search out these fellowships before they expire? These fellowships and scholarships before they expire. Also, as an undergraduate 200 level student applying for studying public health, how do one get started to focus on internship? The next question here from Linda Udipo says, this essay, is it the same as cover letter? Is essay the same thing as cover letter? Popola Yemisi says, thank you so much for this insightful session, sir and ma. If an early career professional doesn't have an NGO, how can the person make an impact and describe it in the essay application?
Repeat that.
If an early career professional doesn't have an NGO, how can the person still make an impact and describe it in the essay application? Oluwadamilare Olatunji says, thank you so much, Sama, for this insightful session. How can I carry out impactful activities in my community as an introvert who doesn't like attention? How can I carry out impactful activities in my community as an introvert who doesn't like attention? Popola BMC again says, okay, yes, I've read that. For Calvin, it says, if you have work experience without any volunteering experience, does that disadvantage your application in any way? If you have work experience without any volunteering experience, does that disadvantage your application in any way? Nikoro Rukeme Louis says, thank you for this opportunity. What kind of scholarships would you advise one not to apply for? What kind of scholarship would you advise one not to apply for? I think we have taken a couple. Once we get these responses, then we can take another round of questions. There are a couple of questions still in the chat box. Oh, okay, yeah, there's just one more. Let me just read the last one. It said, many thanks to the host and Dr. Flora for the presentation and rich insights. Please, can you briefly share recommendations and guidance on must-have competencies and pathways for public health practitioners? Program monitoring and evaluation, who intend pivoting into clinical research. I know Dr. Ejemai has done a lot of work in clinical research. So this question is, briefly, can you share recommendations and guidance on must-have competencies and pathways for public health practitioners, that's program monitoring and evaluation persons who intend pivoting into clinical research. I think that's the last question that we have here. We'll take this round of questions. If there are other questions, then we'll respond to them. How do you want to go?
Maybe I should just start. Yeah, and I will start with the last.
Okay, go ahead and start with the last.
Yeah, yeah. So that because there are several questions here. I want to start with last two, which speak about scholarships essentially. The first one I want to deal with is that question that talks about what kind of scholarship would one not apply to for. There are several ways to answer that question, but I want to begin with one thing. You need to have clarity of purpose before you apply for anything. What exactly do you want? One of the common things that I get as a professor, one of the common things I get from when I have conversations informally, maybe when I'm in Nigeria and I just have conversations with young people, and trying to get a sense of what they want, I realize that many of them are not looking necessarily for scholarship to develop themselves. Many people these days are looking for jackpot opportunities, right? So if you're trying to escape, that's a problem, because that's if you don't have clarity of purpose. So you find that and that authenticity would or lack of authenticity would in a lot of ways show, right? So that's one of the broad things. But generally, apply for opportunities that suit your purpose, your trajectory. If you want to be a practitioner, you're looking for opportunities to gain skills. If you want to be a researcher, you're looking for research opportunities. So that last question that someone asked. Now, in academia, there are different kinds of opportunities, right? And funding opportunities, and how you approach them really matters a whole lot. They're different, right? But let me talk about research, which is very much different from scholarships that have to do with course-based work or course-based activities. In most cases, for research opportunities, you may not find advertised positions saying, okay, we have this opportunity, we have funding for this, come and apply. You're not likely going to see that in most cases. There are some where you will find, but most times you would not. So, and that's where you need to approach faculties within institutions. So the best approach is you go to a website, you go to various university websites, because you don't lay all your eggs in one basket. You scroll, you go to the department that you feel aligns with what you want to do or where you are. You look at each faculty member, professor. You want to know what their current work is, what their current research, does it align with what you're doing, or what you may be interested in. And often I tell people, you're looking for mentorship. That's what research scholarships are about, or research degrees are about. So oftentimes it's not more about, yes, there must be your interest there, but oftentimes you probably can be a bit flexible to get to align with the person who you want to work with. Now, the thing is, you're going to send lots of letters out, lots of emails out to these people, try to contact. Is that communication with them? Because the school itself often may not have funding, but the professor would have funding for his or her research and is looking for a graduate student who will come and carry out that research as part of their research master's or research or doctoral degree, right? So you're now pitching yourself to a person, not an institution. So you need to find out that alignment, and if the person has funding and sees that you have that capacity to carry out this research, the person will want to have further conversations with you and perhaps bring you in and fund you. Now, you may not know that it's the professor who is funding you, because it may come to you as a letter of scholarship award, but actually it is the professor's research grants that is funding you. So take note of that. Now, for most course-based programs, Now, they are not as there is not as much funding as you would find for research, really. Now, that's where you have various kinds of some could be from industry, some could be from the institution itself, some from individuals saying, okay, well, we want to sponsor people with such and such and such and such criteria for such and such positions. And that's where it is important for you to know who the funder is and what the funder's interest is. If, for example, you have an organization like OpenAI, right? Saying they want to fund some scholarships, some students to learn certain skills. It will be difficult for you to present yourself as a general public health person looking for a public health degree, except that has to do with an AI component. You demonstrate that you are integrating AI, which is their interest, into what you're doing. Right? So that alignment is very, very important. So I'll just stop here, but there's a whole lot to talk about in that direction. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ejemai. Flora, yes.
Yeah, so let me start with the question of that says, okay, so you're from sub-Saharan Africa. How can you show impact without making a pity party? That's just easy. So imagine, remember, just look at yourself as an investment. You see, you need to believe in yourself. It's not pride. It is not pride. It is you believe in yourself. You are valuable. So the question you ask is, if I'm valuable, what value am I bringing? The fellowship, the scholarship is going to add value to you, but you also are going to add value to the fellowship or the scholarship. How? You're going to bring your knowledge base, whatever you know. You're going to bring the situations. You're going to use the issues you're around you. You solve problems, and that's why I keep saying it. When you're able to demonstrate that you've solved problems, and solving problems doesn't mean that you have gone to build a bank. No, it could just be that within your organization, you helped to improve communication among your staff, or you helped to build capacity within even your organization, within your church, within your community is wherever you are. It's not necessarily one village or one LGA. No, community is where you are. That area, it could be your neighborhood, it could be your church, it could be your school, it could be your region, it could be your province, it could be your district, whichever. All right, so you just have to, number one, value yourself and then showcase yourself. You're not begging, neither are you being proud, but you are demonstrating, you're communicating your value. I want to receive value from this program, and this is the value I'm going to bring. And your referees should also do the same. Their referees are not necessarily begging. They're simply saying, look, your program is fantastic. I have a candidate who is going to benefit from this program. My country is going to benefit from this program. And you guys are also going to benefit from having her or having him in your program. That letter, that's how your letter should speak. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now, how do you pick mentors? So people may have different opinions, but my thought is, sometimes you don't pick mentors, sometimes you do. Many years ago, early in my career, I reached out to people to be my mentors. They didn't agree. So we've all faced it, right? So the people who eventually became my mentors, in fact, my first real mentor was someone I worked with, and over time, I just sat with him and then learned from him. And he is also someone who likes to build capacity, likes to teach people, likes to help people grow and develop. So I was fortunate. So in the course of your work, be open-minded to look out for people who are approachable and who have the knowledge. Who have knowledge. They may be in your industry, they may not be in your industry, but they are approachable, they are doing great things. You are learning from them. Remember, when you're learning from people, you're not learning from them because they're in your industry. You're going to be learning so many things around them, which you're going to use. In fact, if you learn from only the people in your industry, you might be in trouble. You will be limited in your knowledge and your scope. In fact, you might not be able to apply to these scholarships because these scholarships are not looking for people that come and speak medical language or health language or tech language. They're looking for people who are speaking leadership. And leadership is not title. Leadership is the responsibility I have taken and the responsibility I will yet take in the future if you capacitate me. The question on thought leadership: how do you pitch yourself authentically, especially in this world of AI? Well, like I said, these people can spot these things, and when you're applying to globally, you're applying to countries where they generated the AI, so they also have those tools to counteract some of the fallouts of AI. So they can tell, and remember, that's why you see when your essays are sounding very formal, very starchy. If you want your essay to sail in this world, you have to tell a story about yourself. My essays would never be, oh, I am a disciplined, focused, detail-oriented. I don't even put that on my CV, not to talk about essay. I start by telling you, oh, many years ago, my daughter struggled with speaking in public. I noticed that, and then I decided, okay, I'm going to sit with her and help her overcome her fears. And with time, there were opportunities that came. There was a UN high-level meeting. I got her to participate, and I was glad to say that my daughter eventually was a Nigerian representative for this UN high-level meeting. You've never been mentored, but you have mentored somebody. You mentored your daughter. So those are the stories you tell. You can't get that one generated by AI unless you feed it in. Some of you should go and feed it in now into AI. The next thing, my story is no longer my story. I'm just kidding. So that is the authenticity they are looking at. Now, how do you show your diversity?
I don't know, Chichi, leave me.
Did you join another one?
Julie Okorie, can you please mute? So how do you show your diversity and ability to do a lot when you have a lot of skills? Many of us have a lot of skills, but it is the skills that meet the requirements of that fellowship that you are going to put forth. So if, for instance, I love cooking, but the fellowship I'm applying for, okay, let's not use cooking, let's use something more relatable. So if, for instance, I am applying for, if for instance, I'm applying for a fellowship on climate change, right? I've done work in climate change, but that's not my core area. What I've been doing instead, my core area is on tuberculosis, clinical management of tuberculosis. I'm not going to go and be telling them about managed clinical patients with TB, HIV. No, I might mention, okay, this is something. However, what they're looking for is what I'm now going to sit on, right? So you will always have many skills, and you are advised to have many skills because it is those skills that you will pinpoint. I remember I applied for something one time, and do you know the question they asked me? Have you ever sold, you are a doctor, have you ever sold anything before? And I smiled. And I went back to my days in university, and I said to them, yes, I have. I sold recharge cards back in university as a medical student. I sold shock absorbers because I used to come down to Lagos to buy spare parts. In fact, by the time I finished, they said, this woman, I got in. So that has nothing to do with public health, but it's something I have done. So you need to pull from your toolbox and be proud of it. The question on financial support, Dr. Ejemai, let me know any other question you want to take. So the question on financial support, how do you apply for financial support? So some fellowships many times already know that they're going to support students and the candidates. They could be full tuition. They're completing. It's a full scholarship. Let me use that term. So they're paying for everything. Your flight, if there's an in-person component of it, they're paying for everything. So you're not spending a dime. Some have part support, financial support. So they'll pay for some things and then you would maybe foot the rest, right? Then scholarships would also, some of them have full scholarships. They're going to cover your everything. Some of them could be part scholarship. But some scholarships, especially if you're going in for maybe postgraduate program, would expect you to get admission based on your academic prowess. And then when you get in, maybe after your first year or before the end of your first year, you apply for scholarships within the system. So for financial support, depending on what it is you're looking at, if you're looking at a postgraduate study, then you're likely to get scholarship after you've received admission. So you first of all do the work and then you hope to get scholarship. But for fellowships and then some other scholarships that already have that financial support in front of them as part of what they're offering you, then you won't need to worry about that. So you just need to look for the fellowship that meets your needs. So if you don't have any money at all, I mean this scholarship or fellowship, for fellowships, most of them will cover. If you don't have money for your postgraduate education, then you should be looking for one that will cover those costs. So as an undergraduate, how does one get started to focus on internship? Look for anywhere that you can work. Look for a place to volunteer, right? When you volunteer, you're volunteering not necessarily to get money, but you're volunteering to get experience. And it is when you get experience that money comes. So you get in touch with people, wherever. It's almost like, so make calls, ask questions, and plead your case and say, I want to get experience. Don't go there telling them that you want them to pay you. When I moved from health insurance to public health, I moved from a job where I was, I think, the head of my department. And then by the time I wanted to move to public health, I didn't have public health experience. I had to volunteer for 5 months without pay. But within the 5 months, I worked as if they were paying me millions. So when an opportunity came for a job, to fill vacancies, because what I was there for was to gain experience, I did well in the interview. So I was given the job. So you volunteer to gain experience. And that brings me to the question of somebody who says work experience without volunteer experience, does that disqualify you? Remember, like I just said now, volunteer experience is to get work experience. So if you're already working, your work experience replaces in a way the volunteer experience. However, you can still add your volunteer experience if it is necessary. Okay, but if it is not, then because you already have work experience, good quality work experience, then you don't need to bring the volunteer. But you can also bring your volunteer experience to bear as well, because you want to show that you are someone who goes out of your comfort zone. You take on stretch assignments and stretch tasks. You're not limited to just that work. You do a whole lot more. So don't box yourself. But if you don't have work experience, your volunteer experience is going to provide you with the work experience. So never minimize your volunteer experience. Your volunteer experience is your work experience. The only difference is that you are not earning salary. Now, is essay the same as cover letter? No. So what I mean is this: essays, as per scholarships or fellowship applications, are they are specific. The scholarship or the fellowship will tell you what essays they want you to write. So for instance, they'll tell you to explain how this program is going to impact your career. They're going to ask you to explain maybe if any mentorship experience you've had, or how you've been able to manage certain situations. So those essays, they request specific essays of you. Cover letter is you pitching yourself, very blanket. There's no ask from anywhere, right? But you're simply telling them the value you bring to bear and the value you want to get from them. However, essay is specific. You are answering specific questions as stipulated by the scholarship or the fellowship. So also, if an early career professional, if an early career professional doesn't have an NGO, how can the person still make an impact? I don't have an NGO, right? But I still make impact in wherever I find myself, in my small environment, in any place I work. You don't have to be you don't even have to have any title. You don't have to be, you can just be Flora in one organization, but where you are doing things. So that is why I encourage people, when there are opportunities to do something, just step up. I will do it. I don't mind doing it. It can be carrying what it may seem small, but you see that effort means a lot in the larger scheme of things. So just make impact wherever you are. In church, you coordinate activities in church. That is a skill. you bring it to bear. Oh, in my religious organization, in my church, this is what I do. This. It has provided me with the ability to work with people and build capacity, and also manage emotions. I've become more emotionally intelligent by engaging with people, because I get to work with people from different backgrounds, and in the process, I've had to improve on myself and seek first to understand. You begin to show how you developed responsibility and leadership knowledge and skills by those opportunities. How can I carry out impactful activities in my community? I've told you, step up and just do what needs to be done. I think we've answered all the questions. Sorry if I rushed the answers, but because of time, just needed to rush.
Yeah, let me just add one or two.
Okay.
Okay,
Go ahead.
Yeah. So Flora said a whole lot, which is very important. I want to also emphasize this. Don't underestimate volunteerism. In my part of the world here, volunteerism is seen as a very, very, very big deal. Even people who are actively employed volunteer, and it's seen as something really big, because it shows that you're giving back to society, you're working with community and all that. And church is also volunteerism. Note that. Your village meetings, when you're meeting your village people, the good ones, it's volunteerism, right? Yeah. So that's it. And someone asked about introvertism. Yeah, you need to now. Introvertism is not timidity. Differentiate the two of them, right? You must not be timid. Introvertism simply means you're someone who internalizes your thoughts and all that. So that's very beautiful. I am an introvert, but I do a whole lot of things out there very well, right? So if shyness or timidity is your problem, is the issue you're talking about, you need to deal with it, right? You need to step up and deal with it, because the world looks at, it's not, the world will not align to you. You would have to, to step up, right? Then I want to say this about CVs and essays generally. One of the common things I see when I'm reviewing applications is what I call Solomon Grundy CVs or stuff. Solomon Grundy, born on Monday, Christian on Tuesday, married on Wednesday, took him. That's the kind of thing you see in CVs. People follow formats, right? But everybody is going to have that format. So why should I look at yours? So something must stand out. And the truth is, let me be frank with you, every reviewer like myself, we are all humans, which means we are prone to biases. You write your CV. The truth is, when I start seeing Solomon Grundy on the beginning, I already have an opinion, right? So, but if you have a CV that first, it highlights some strong things about you. You have bullet points, key highlights about you, your leadership experience, depending on what you're applying to, right? Your project management experience, your research outputs, stuff like that. It's there before you now start talking about, okay, I schooled here, I did that, I worked here, and all that. Then at least I have seen something that interests me, and I want to read the rest. Because the truth is, everybody reviewing, we have thousands of applications. And once I look at it, if I'm saying I went to those schools, everybody went to those schools, everybody went to Harvard, everybody went to London School of Hygiene, everybody went to Hopkins. There are several people, right? But if I don't see those key attributes that sell you for this position, right? The tendency that I want to make a decision quickly. So I look at the first half page before I know whether I really want to put this aside and look at it in more detail. So we are all humans. So understand that. If AI was reviewing your CV, that's different. But it's human beings who get exhausted, who really want to get this thing done quickly. So that half page, the first half page of the CV is very, very important. That will help reviewers know whether they didn't want to. This thing stands out. Let me really take out time and understand this person a little bit more. Thank you. And for essays, remember topic sentences for paragraphs. That first sentence that gives that punchy introduction to what you want to say in that paragraph is very important, because it catches you, right? If I read something and okay, I was born in Port Harcourt, I grew That's boring. But if I see the person, it was a cold, dark, dusty evening. What's this talking about? You know, the story that Flora was talking about, right? You want to stand out. You just want to catch attention. Thank you.
Sorry,
Thank
there's
you
one
very,
question.
very much. Oh, you have,
Okay, I'm sorry. There's one
okay, go
question
ahead.
here I think I missed out. And the person
Alright.
is saying, how does one search out these fellowships before they expire? So I mean, so many of this information are online, right? So if there's this saying, what you are looking for, you will find. If you are interested in developing yourself in whatever area, and if a fellowship or scholarship is going to help you do that, you need to go look for them. You will see information. The only thing is you need to really spend time to finally find the one that meets you, right? I did that, and that's not how I found the opportunity. Second thing is you need to be on platforms that are relevant. So if you're only in platforms where you have your secondary school classmates, where people are talking about how to help somebody do wedding, do burial, you're not going to get a lot of information there. But if you're in a group where people are sharing information that builds you professionally, maybe your university alumni, your industry colleagues, business leaders, you get information from there. In fact, there was one, how I saw the Harvard Fellowship was in one group that I almost exited myself because, they were always talking about visit to one governor, I just said, what am I doing with all this visit to one governor? But you see, God is good. It was there that they dropped that information. Somebody just shared it and I saw the thing and I said, this is what I have been looking for. And I quickly applied for it, also shared it with folks. Now, when applying, did I think I was going to get it? No, but luckily I have people around me that say, you know what, you don't lose anything by trying. And so I made up my mind that if I'm going to try, I better give it my best shot, and I did. So cast you have to be intentional. Cast your nets wide, and be in the right places, the right platforms. Be on LinkedIn, be on useful WhatsApp groups, be on your, and you will find what you're looking for. Then I wanted to say one more thing. For those of us who don't have a lot of experience now, this is the time. Just start from where you are. Whenever you wake up is your morning. So start from where you are, start volunteering. Even if you have a job, volunteer in other places. If you don't have, if you have a job, well, you may not have the time. But if you don't have a job, volunteer. Volunteering will give you the experience that will eventually help you get the job that you need. And then I've been on a review panel believe me, when you see, out of thousands, when they shortlist, maybe they're shortlisting, they come all the way down to maybe the best 10. And then from that best 10, this is the process, at least this is one for my own. So you know that they will send those best 10 to like 4 or 5 different groups of panelists. Each person will review individually. And then, they'll keep, so it's like you just be juggling people all over the place. But the point I'm trying to make is, by the time you look at the quality of the essays, not the CVs now, you see the essays of these people, even you will ask yourself, how did I even get in for this fellowship? Because you see people who are fantastic, even more fantastic than you. So my question about it, you see that even you will see that when you're reading, you will know that this person's essay, in fact, this person's submission is standing out even for you. So when you're writing your essay, you have to sit down and really do a lot of research, get a lot of information. It's as if you want to write a project. That if you want to make a successful application, it will require time. It's not something you do in a few days. It is something you will spend time. By the time you finish, nobody will need to tell you to take that submission to God and pray and say, Lord, after all these efforts, please, let this come back to me with good news. All right. So you must give it the best you can. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Flora, Dr. Ejemai. It's been a wonderful session, and I will really appreciate you for all the insights, all the lessons you've learned. I've taken notes of more than 1, 2, 3, 4, like 5 pages of notes, and that's for me. I wonder what other people would have taken. So thank you very much. This conversation continues. It continues on our WhatsApp platform. It continues on LinkedIn. It continues on YouTube. We want to really appreciate Dr. Flora and Dr. Ejemai for taking our time to share insights with us. It's really appreciated. The team here, the participant here, this is something that people pay money for. This is something that people seek people for, but God has made it possible that we're getting it. The least we can do is to appreciate our mentors who has taken our time to share with us. I would like to just request that please put in the chat box what has stood out for you. What is the next clear step that you think you will do after today's session? Let's just put it in the chat box. We're thinking that we'll have a poll about it, but time is not on our side. We have gone about over 20 minutes over the time. Yes, everybody can be added on the WhatsApp platform. I put the link to the WhatsApp platform. You click. Let me reshare the link again. You register on this link, and then the last question takes you to the WhatsApp platform where you will be added. Please share with your friends, share with your neighbors, share with your colleagues in the office, share with everyone. I have a ton of points that I've noted here. The last point that Dr. Flora said is that whenever you wake up is your morning, so it's never too late to start. So start and start any time that you wake up. It's never too late to start. And Dr. Ejemai said your grades can get you to the door. You can just get you to the door. But to be selected, you need to share a good story of your experience, your leadership qualities, and all that. That is what will take you. Will get you selected. I just want to encourage us all here that please, the recording, this is being recorded and it's going to be shared on our WhatsApp, on our YouTube channel. Please go to the YouTube channel, watch it, share with friends, like it, subscribe. That is the least we could do to ensure that this gets to a wider audience. The idea is we've received freely, like one of the posts that Dr. Flora did on LinkedIn. He said, freely we receive and freely we give. So we have received and we want to give, because we've seen that in this space of public health, a lot of young Africans struggle. And we that have gone through this process want to make sure that the struggle is reduced for a lot of people. So we're going to be sharing comments on LinkedIn, on X, on YouTube, on Facebook, on all our channels. Please like, share, subscribe, share with your friends, and share with other people. Comment and all that. That's the list that we ask of. Thank you very much for tonight. I will just ask our mentors to say one last word before we close the meeting, starting with Dr. Flora.
Okay, so I just want to say, don't think less of yourself. Before anybody can believe in you, you have to believe in yourself. And also, don't listen to people who say, or even your inner critic that says you cannot do it. And if possible, please surround yourself with people who can say to you, you know, maybe someone can say to you, Flora, you know more than you think you know. People who can encourage you, people who can get you to do what you yourself cannot do. It's very important, because that is usually what is going to make you look at something and charge you up, or look at something and turn away. And I say this particularly to women. We women, we criticize ourselves a lot. We usually don't believe in ourselves. And this is not trying to be a gender or whatever, but it's the fact. And so I say this all the time: believe in yourself and just try. You don't lose anything by trying. The best you can get is a no, but at least you can also get a yes. But if you don't try, you don't know whether it would have been a yes. So please always try and give it your best.
So I'll
Thank you
just
very much, Dr. Ejemai.
I'll just build on the last note Flora made. My first, my biggest scholarship I got was WHDR, and I found it 2 days to the deadline on LinkedIn. I just saw it, and I saw the comments. Everybody was asking the poster, give me more details, give me more can you give me more? And I was like, why would you be asking the poster, right? I clicked on the link, I took action, and I did not know the key criteria for it. It was 2 days to deadline. I only met 2/3 and 1/3 of the 3 major criteria that I needed. But I knew I just had 2 days and I couldn't get the other 2. So I went ahead and applied and I got it. So the key thing here is take action. Even if you think you're not prepared enough, right? Take action. Take action. You can never get anything if you don't take action. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ejemai. We really appreciate you. And thanks to all the participants that are here. I also want to say thank you to all the mentors that I see on the platform, friends, senior colleagues, people I've learned from that are also joining, even to give support to this initiative. I want to really appreciate you for joining. Thank you very much. I see a couple of people, I might not be able to name everybody so that I don't get into trouble by not naming some people, but I see you. Thank you very much for joining this. Thank you, Dr. Flora. We appreciate you. Thank you, Dr. Ejemai. We appreciate you. We thought we would have this for 1.5 hours, but we ended up having it for 2 hours because of how important and how insightful this session has been. So thank you very much. And this is signing off, and wishing everybody a good evening. The next session on the Mentorship Club will be announced on LinkedIn. Thank you very much and have a wonderful evening. Bye for now.